So let's start with this talk about fundamentals. Okay, fundamentals are three basic physical laws that govern everything you do in the swimming pool. Every stroke you take, these laws, which are part of our world, they govern you. They reign over you. That means you can't ignore them. They're acting on you almost all the time. And what are they? Well, there's the laws that enable you to speed up, to go fast. Those are called laws of motion. They're the laws that slow you down in the water. What are those called? Anybody? Has anyone heard of the term drag? And what does drag mean? Slowing down, resistance. Okay? So those laws are working on you as long as you're moving. You had to apply some laws to get moving in the first place. And once you start moving, the laws of drag, meaning those that want to stop you, are working on you all the time. And there's a third law, which you may or may not have heard of. Some of you that have been here before have heard me mention this law. It's called inertia. Inertia. What does inertia mean? Anybody? Anybody remember?
If you're moving, you keep moving in the constant speed.
Exactly. So a body that is in motion wants to stay in motion. Okay? And it turns out this law means that it's more efficient for this body to stay in motion than it is for the body to slow down or stop and then speed up again, slow down, stop, and then speed up again. The same law applies in the swimming pool as it does in your car. If you're on the freeway and you're driving fast, you get better gas mileage. Your engine operates more efficiently than it does when you're in town and you have to stop the stoplight or the stop sign and then go. To get that 4,000-pound car going, it takes a lot of work, it takes a lot of energy. Same is true in the pool. So we're going to talk last about inertia. But I first want to talk about the most important of the three fundamental laws. Okay? Remember, we have the laws of motion, the laws of drag, and the law of inertia. That's it. If you have an understanding of those three laws, then you understand everything that's working on you and trying to make you slow down while you're swimming. And the most important one is just that, the law of drag, those laws that are trying to stop you, to keep you from winning. In fact, I have a name for them. They're called the law of drag, the laws of drag. I call drag the number one enemy of the swimmer. The number one enemy of the swimmer. All right, so let's pretend you're in a race. You've come to the camp, you've trained, you've gotten yourself in shape, you've worked hard. It's the big meet of the season. You stand up on the blocks. You want to go as fast as you can, right? You've worked hard for this. You've paid attention to your swimming training, your strength training, your mental training, your nutrition, and your recovery, and now you're ready to swim fast. What are you going to do? What are some of the things you're going to do when you're standing up there on the block, before that gun goes up? What are some things you're going to do to reduce drag during that race? Anybody? Yeah. You're going to wear a tight, high-tech suit, the best suit you can. You're not going to wear your drag suit, right? So you're going to put on the best suit your parents can afford, right? And it does make a difference. It makes a difference. Faster the suit, the less drag you're going to have. That's the way they're designed, to reduce drag. A few years back, remember the body suits, when everybody wore the full body suits? Yeah, they went all the way down to through the whole body and over the shoulder. 250 world records in 2 years. 250 world records. Crazy. They were like after dinner mints, you know? You put on the suit, oh, I got a world record. Oh, who cares? You know, it made a mockery of the world records. So they got rid of them. Now it's back to mano a mano. Okay, you wear that short suit, women from here to above the knee, and it's better. So the suit isn't determining necessarily the winner, it's the swimmer, again, which is the way it should be. Except us masters, Marco and I would like to see the old suits back because they made us a lot faster. So, All right, so you're going to wear a high-tech suit. What else are you going to do to reduce drag? Anybody?
Streamline your body.
Streamline your body. Okay, that's a great thing, streamlining. And yet, everybody who's under 30 or 25 is taught today how to streamline, but very few do it correctly. So let's start with that. I'm going to go around this section and we're going to see if everybody's streamlining correctly. Let's start with you. Stand up. You can't do this sitting down. Okay. Okay, a lot of people think that this is the way you're supposed to streamline. I'm going to use you as an example. Turn you around. Okay, and a lot of coaches teach you to put your arm against the ear and squeeze together. That's not the way we teach you to streamline. We don't believe that's the correct way. And we think that the best streamliner of all time, if you watch him underwater, was this kid named Michael Phelps. I don't know if you ever watched him underwater or paid attention to him, but he doesn't streamline this way. How is he streamlining? Well, he drops his chin to his chest, the arms go behind his head, he squeezes his elbows together, and he pulls his shoulders out of the socket. Now, squeeze those elbows and keep them together. Now, that's not as comfortable, is it?
No.
Okay, but guess what? Now, you can't see what just happened down here, but when I pulled her shoulders up, like she's trying to change a light bulb in her bedroom and doesn't want to get the ladder, okay? She's too late. She's going to reach with every millimeter of her body that she can. Now, she just made herself into a very good streamliner, but she's got to work at it to stay there. It's not comfortable or easy, but her whole body, when I did this, it just didn't change the front of her stroke or her streamline, it changed her entire body. Okay, that's the way to streamline, all right? Not everybody can get that close. It's not just getting there, it's staying there. If I turn around and I start talking to you, I look back and she relaxes, it's not the same. She's got to look like a unicorn, taking two arms and turning them into one. That only happens when her arms are behind her head, not on her ears. Also notice that some coaches think that, well, the head's now dragging. It isn't. It's in line with the body. Even though her chin is on her chest, it doesn't change her head. It doesn't become obtrusive to her drag position. Okay, let's see if everybody can do that. Stand up. Good. That is one arm. She just turned, look at that. That's probably the best streamline I've ever seen. That's incredible. But you also have to elevate those shoulders. They have to feel like they're going to pop out any second. It's an uncomfortable position, but look at the body, how tight it is. Look from the side. You want the lowest drag coefficient. Of course, you'd have to point her toes. That's the lowest drag coefficient the human body can get into, right there. Beautiful. Is that the way you normally streamline? Okay. Well, you've already learned something. Pull them out of the socket. Beautiful streamline again. Squeeze the elbows together behind the head. Tight body. That's it. Now, it's one thing to do it in land. You have to do this in the water, okay? I can't tell how close your elbows are. We'll take this off for a second. You have to be able to see those arms, and I want to be able to see how good you get them. Okay, good. Squeeze them here. Now, you don't want to do this with your hands. You want to wrap your thumb around, but keep your fingers. I've seen swimmers who are amazingly streamlined, and they're like this. That versus that makes a difference. The water has no mercy, by the way. And why is it the water, the drag affects everything we do, whether we're in a car or boat or plane, it doesn't matter. But in the water, it's much more sensitive. Why is that? Anybody? Weight? Well, you weigh less in the water. How much do you weigh in the water, by the way? With the lungs full of air, you weigh 0. When you blow all the air out of your lungs, you weigh about 5 to 8 pounds. Okay, that's pretty good. Squeeze them together. Tight body. Okay, Evan, get up here. So nobody's answered the question yet. Why is technique more important in swimming than any other sport? Squeeze them together. Pull them out of the socket. Okay, now that's the way, almost together. That's pretty good. Not as good as these two, but that's good. Randon, show me a streamline. Is that the way you streamline, Evan? Okay, good. Chin down. Make sure you get that arms behind there. Straight with the fingers. Pull the shoulders out. Straight body, tight. Make that tight. Make yourself an inch taller than you really are. Okay, good. Etienne? Come on over here so everybody can see you. Squeeze those elbows together. Good, beautiful. This is the best group of streamliners in general that I've ever seen. That's excellent, okay? Chloe, we might have to get a taller room for you. Okay, turn around. Squeeze them together, chin all the way down, get them behind. She can almost touch them. She virtually becomes one arm, you see that? Body very tight here. It's like putting a bodysuit on because she elevates the shoulder. Good, okay? This is Zach, right? Okay, Zach. Good. Okay, you want to be straight here. Pull them out of the socket. Keep them tight. You're not ticklish, right? Okay. Just want to check. Squeeze them together. Squeeze them, pull them. That's good. Excellent. Sebastian. It's very important you learn how to do this in land first, because if you can't do it in land, you're not going to do it in the water. Okay, squeeze them together. That's good. Push him. Excellent. He's like a rock here. Very nice. Okay. Head and chin down, arms behind the head. Good. Mateen. Chin on your chest. Elbows touching behind. Squeeze them together. It's got to hurt. If it's not hurting, you're not doing it right. You got to point those fingers. Come on. Feel like you're going to touch the ceiling. Squeeze them together. Okay, if it's not uncomfortable, then you're not doing it correctly. Okay, last. Shala, right? Shala. Okay, squeeze them together. Good. Pull them up. Very tight. Almost touching. Very nice, okay? Chin always has to be on your chest. You can't be here. You can't be straight. It has to be behind your head. All right, so we now have two things. We have wearing high-tech suit and we have streamlining. What else are we going to do to reduce drag? Evan, you can think of at least one thing. What?
Push off the wall.
You're going to push off in that streamline position, so we'll count that as streamline, and the start as well. Very important that on your dive, your turns, that you use that same streamline that you guys just showed me. What else? What?
Good form.
All right, good form, but that doesn't define what good form is. What do you mean by good form? What's good form? Okay, what technique is going to reduce drag? Yeah. Okay, we're going to save that one. It's how you pull underwater. A lot of people don't realize they have a choice. They put their hand in the water and they start pulling, and they pull in the most natural way that they can, and they don't realize there's a difference. There is a difference in how you pull underwater. What you do with your hands, your arms underwater in order to move you through the water to create motion or propulsion is very different. No one answered the question earlier, why is swimming technique more important than golf, tennis? They're all important, baseball, but why is it more important in swimming than all those other sports? Anybody? Parents?
Water has resistance.
Water has what?
Resistance.
It has a higher density. It's 800 times denser than air. So when you're in the water, all the things we're talking about, those three laws, apply at much lower speeds than they do in air. That's why it has no mercy. If you do something wrong in the water, boom, you pay big time for it. If your technique is off in the air because the density is so low, it doesn't pay such a big price. If you're running or on a bike, technique is important, but it's not as important as it is when you're in the water. That's why all of you are here, because it's millimeters of difference that make you faster. Okay? Millimeters. All right, so we have coming off the wall with Streamline. Head position. Let's talk about that, body position. We just showed you the best position that you can be in when you come off the wall or you start, but you can't hold that position while you're swimming. You have to move your arms and legs. So what position is the best position for the body to be in to have the least amount of drag?
Right, on the side.
That's a good question. Some coaches think that. I don't believe that's true. I think the body on the side has almost the same drag coefficient as the body on the stomach. If it didn't, you would be much faster kicking on your side than you were on your stomach, and that's not true. So I don't think the drag coefficient on the human body is different. But is it better for the body to be curved or straight? Straight, okay. So we want to keep our body in alignment. That means our spine moves. We can bend it in different directions. Legs go out to the side. Arms can go out to the side. All of those can affect our speed as we're swimming. But in general, we want the body to be as straight as possible. And there's several things we can do to achieve that. What are some of them? Somebody mentioned it earlier. I don't know, maybe it was you. Head position, all right? The head position. How does the head position make you faster? And what is the right head position? Where should your head be? Looking down, okay? And yet, not many swimmers do that. Almost every swimmer looks forward as they're swimming, their head's looking that way instead of down. And what does looking down do? Why is that better?
Because of the drag. More drag to head up.
Okay, that's one reason. When your head's up, you get a bow wave or surface drag that comes across and smacks you in the head. If you're looking forward, you know, you're actually, the water hits you right in the middle of your forehead, and you're probably thinking, well, that can't really slow you down very much, can it? It does. Just that constant, it's like a boat out here in the bay. When that bow wave hits the boat, it slows it down a lot. So when I drop my head, the bow wave goes right over the top of my head. The water goes over the top rather than hits the surface. By the way, where's the fastest place you can swim? If you could swim there's only 3 choices. One is underwater, and there you can only stay under for 15 meters by the rule. The other is on top of the water, which is hydroplaning. I haven't seen a human yet that can do that or strong enough to do that. That would be the best place, right? But you can't get there. So really there's only 2 choices. Underwater or on the surface? Which is better? Surface? What do you think? Underwater. It's actually faster underwater than it is on the surface. A submarine goes faster underwater than it does when it's trying to go on the surface. Same with the human body. We're not streamlined shapes. So we actually can go faster if you're really good, like Phelps or Lochte or Natalie Cogg. They can swim faster underwater with just using their legs than they can on the surface, using their arms and legs. Okay, but you can only stay down there for 15 meters, then you have to come up and start swimming. So when you're on the surface, the best you want to be is as high on the surface as you can. Why? Is there more drag in water or air? So the less of you in water and the more of you in air, the faster you're going to go. All right? So when you're on the surface and your head's looking forward, smack, 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 smack. You're beating your head against the water every time you take a stroke. The other thing that looking up does, same thing it does to my body when I'm standing here as when I'm in the water. If my head is straight, my body is straight. When I look up, what just happened?
You just curved your body.
That's right. I just made an arch in my back. My bum now is about 6 inches underwater, and I look from the side like a hammock. You know what a hammock is? No. Between 2 trees like that. Is that a good drag position or a bad drag position? That's bad, right? Okay, so we want to keep the body straight, we keep the head down, and that keeps our body in alignment. Now, if that's so good for the human body to swim fast, why is it everybody looks up? Why is everybody looking forward?
See the wall.
They want to see where they're going. Defensive swimming. Has anybody here ever been hit in the head by somebody swimming over backstroke who got out of their lane? I have. Boom. You get hit once, and all of a sudden you swim like Tarzan. Anybody ever seen Tarzan swim? The head's like this. You're watching out for yourselves. That's why you're looking forward. You've got how many swimmers in your lane? Defensive swimming. So you have to learn to go first in your lane. Stay to the right and pray a lot. That's the only choices you have. Because when your head's down, you cannot see where you're going. But that's the way it is, okay? That's the way it is, all right? So, head position. What else do we have to reduce drag? High-tech suit. When you get to be old like Evan, you get to shave your body. Does that make a difference?
Yes.
It does. It reduces friction. Every great swimmer, especially when you get to be about 13 or 14, you get a little more body hair. You're going to shave. It makes you faster. What else?
No, like the wristbands.
What?
Don't wear wristbands.
I'm sorry?
Don't wear wristbands.
Yeah, you don't want to wear anything funky around your body. You're not going to put on a drag suit. You're not going to wear your sweatpants while you're swimming. You're not going to put anything on your body that's going to slow you down. So nothing that's going to increase drag like that. That is true. Some do. Some put a wristwatch on for whatever reason, but they're not going to do that in a fast race. Anything else? Yeah?
High elbow.
Okay, let's talk about that, because Evan mentioned earlier, the way you pull underwater. Let's try to point out what the difference is, because a lot of swimmers don't realize there's a difference, okay? Most swimmers, when they put their arm in the water, they pull this way. They pull deep. And one of the reasons they pull deeper is because they're stronger in that position. And yet, you watch Missy Franklin, you watch Ryan Lochte, you watch Michael Phelps underwater, you watch Sun Yang, all the greatest swimmers of the world, and they're pulling with their elbow way up here like that. They're not pulling deep like this. They're pulling here. Why are they pulling up there and everybody else is pulling down here? Yeah.
For height of the arm, it makes more drag. This is much drag, lower drag, no drag.
That's right. Now let's explain why. What Etienne said is that by pulling here, you reduce drag. And remember, drag is the number one enemy, so we want to reduce it any way we can. Why is this pulling here create more drag than pulling here?
Because they have like a bigger upper arm, like of the biceps and the triceps, and then this is drag.
Okay, that's right. This is the biggest part of our arm. It's much bigger than this part down here. But why else? If I take a brick is notorious for having a lot of drag, right? It's square. It's a bad shape. It's not a streamline shape. If I put the brick on the bottom of the pool and it's sitting there, how much drag does it create? Zero. Because
It's just there.
what?
It's just there.
Yeah, it's not moving, right? It's just sitting there. As long as it's sitting, when you're on the wall, your hand's on the wall, you're not moving, you don't have any drag. As soon as you start moving, you create drag. So in order to have drag, what do you have to have? You have to have shape, bigger arm, bigger shape, right? Not good for drag. What else do you have to have? Motion. You have to have motion. There's one other thing that's involved in drag. Anybody think of what it is? If I pick up a fish, what happens? What? What happens when I pick up a fish besides my hands stinking, smelling? What else happens? Usually what happens though, can you hang on to it very well? It slips out of your hand, right? So what about the surface? The surface of a fish is very oily. And the skin, believe it or not, is much faster when you shave it. It reduces friction. That's one of the 3 types of drag, okay? All right, so we have to have those 3 things to create drag. We have to have motion, some kind of surface, which can't really change. Once we shave our body, it is what it is. And then we have to have a shape, all right? So let's think about the upper arm in relationship to creating drag. The faster you're moving forward, the more drag you create. Slow, little drag, fast, lot more drag. Okay, same shape. The speed is very important. So let's look at the speed of the arm. Let's look at how that is. Let's pretend that I'm a world-class woman freestyler. Let's pretend I'm Missy Franklin. I'm not nearly as good looking as she is, but let's imagine that I'm Missy Franklin, okay? About the same height, actually. So she's just swum 50 meters in 25 seconds. How fast was her average body speed for that 50 meters? Anybody? 2 meters per second is what she averaged. Okay, if her body was averaging 2 meters per second, what was her average speed of her hand underwater while her body moved 2 meters per second? Anybody? Just underwater, how fast was her hand moving? How many of you think faster than 2 meters per second? Raise your hand. How many of you think slower than 2 meters per second? Raise your hand. How many of you aren't sure? Raise your hand. All right, well, let me be Missy. And remember, when we swim through the water jiggles around a little bit, doesn't really move. There's no current out in the pool. Okay, it's pretty still. So when we go through the water, we disrupt the water molecules. They go right back to being still very quickly. Within a second, they're back to still. So we can assume the water is motionless, but we're moving through the water. So let's pretend that this table is the water, okay? So I'm Missy, and I put my right hand in right here in the water, and I start to take a stroke, and then I put this hand in the water here, and I release with this hand, and I get ready for the next stroke, which is going to be over here. Remember, I'm moving that direction at 2 meters per second. Where did my right hand enter, and where did it leave the water?
Same place.
The same place, which means how far did it travel in that time it went underwater? Net distance. How far did it go? What? Nowhere. Zero. What was the velocity then if it didn't travel anywhere? Zero. How much drag did my hand create then? Zero. Okay, so now we have two reference points. We have a hand that didn't travel net. Net means if you add up the whole motion of the hand. Did the hand stay in the same spot the whole time? It didn't. I'll explain later how it did move, but it ends up at the same spot where we put it in and we leave. That means it didn't travel any net distance. That means it's zero velocity, no drag. So we now have two reference points. We have a hand that has zero and a body that's moving at 2 meters per second. What about the rest of the arm? How fast is it moving? What direction is it moving?
Forward.
It's moving forward. How fast?
As fast as your body's going.
Faster or slower?
Slower.
Okay. Well, let's start with the part of the arm that's attached to the body, right here at the shoulder. Doesn't that part of the arm have to be moving at the same speed as the body? It's right there. It's attached to it, so it's going for on the ride. So we can say this part of our arm is moving at 2 meters per second, average. If we come down the arm, we get slower and slower. We go from 2 meters to 1.5 to 1 to 1/2 to 0. Average speed as we move down the arm. What do we say the two worst things for drag were? One is the size of the arm, right? The bigger the shape, the more drag. What else is bad?
Friction.
Well, friction is bad, but we don't really change that. We shaved our arm, so it's as good as it's going to get. Speed, right? The faster, the more drag. So we have two bad things happening up here. We have a biggest part of our arm, we have the fastest moving forward part of our arm to create more drag, potentially, okay? So let's look at the two different ways of pulling. Let's go back to this method here. When I take my arm and I put it in and I pull this way, what just happened? Forget about from here to here, because that's contributing to the power. It's not really contributing to drag. What happens from here to here, though? I'm going straight that way. What just happened with this part of my arm? It got off axis. Anybody know what off axis means? What do I mean? If I'm on axis, what does that mean? If I'm going that direction and I stick something out to the side, what happens? It starts to slow down, don't you? If you push off the wall, we'll have you all try this morning. You push off the wall and you put your arm straight out to the side. How long do you think it takes you to come to a stop? Less than a second, okay? If you jump in the water in that perfect streamline you showed me, you're going to glide for about 5 or 6 seconds before you come to a stop. Different shape, same body, different shape, different drag coefficient, okay? So when you pull deep, this guy goes off axis. That means he starts to stick out to the side. And as soon as you do that, you start to throw the brakes on. And if you're pulling deep, you keep the brakes on all the way through. That gets worse when you're straight down. That's the worst point it's going to be, and it stays bad all the way through to the very end until the arm is back in line or in axis with the body. So you went from very little drag here to a lot of drag, stayed with a lot of drag all the way through until you're here, and then your drag releases. It's like throwing the brakes on for your pull and then taking them off at the end. Now let's contrast that with this pull, where I pull here, I drop the forearm. Now, what about my upper arm? It's staying more in line with the body. The motion of the body is this way. If I'm here, this part is still off a little bit, but not sticking way out. So by pulling this way, I keep this part of my arm more in line with my motion. I reduce drag, and even though I'm not as powerful, by pulling this way, I can still swim faster by reducing drag. That's the reason they're pulling that way. Not many swimmers get it. They don't understand that. They opt for this because they feel stronger. They are stronger, but they're also swimming slower. Why? Because they have one foot on the gas and one foot on the brake. Is that any way to drive your car? You're going to burn the motor out. And that's exactly what you do. When you try to swim that way, after about 50 or 100 meters, your tongue is hanging out because you're creating so much drag by doing that you're working against yourself. All right, now let's move on to the laws of motion. Okay? What are your sources of power? What move you through the water? What do you have? What are your tools? Legs, kick, feet. What else? Pull. Arms and legs, right?
Core.
What?
Your core.
Okay, if I put you in the water, we notice when you see great swimmers swim, they don't freestyle in backstroke. They're not just swimming like a surfboard that grew arms and legs. They're actually rotating from side to side to side. As they move down the pool, their body goes this way and that way and this way and that way, rotates back and forth. Why? Why do they do that?
They get the most out of the pool.
They get more power out of the pull. That's one reason. There's 2 reasons why they do it. That's one.
I'm taller.
What?
You elongate yourself.
At the finish, you probably elongate. When you finish a race, you should finish on your side. In backstroke, you should finish underwater because it's faster on your back. But you do get a little bit more reach, but you're not doing that on every stroke. Okay, you're not taking that full reach. You're going out fully extended, but you're not quite going out as far as you would. Why? Why are you rotating?
I think of the strength. You have much more strength in the upper body to rotate, and then you go forward.
Okay, that's pretty much what he was saying. Mateen, right? Mateen. What Mateen said was that you get more power. Let's analyze that for a minute. If I take you into the strength gym and I put your shoulders against the wall and you pull with a pulley weight like that, you're going to pull so many weights, right? But if I release your shoulder and you can step this way and pull, are you stronger this way or weaker?
Stronger.
Why? Why are you stronger that way? What? You have, well, you're bending either way. You're bending here. You're just straight, your arm's straight. But if I do this, I got stronger. Why did I get stronger?
You're using your other muscles as well, your muscles in your back and your core.
That's exactly right. The biggest muscle on your back is called the latissimus dorsi. It's a huge muscle. It goes from your shoulder all the way down to your hip bone. Big muscle. When you do that, that muscle gets to play in the game. If you don't do that and you come here, he doesn't get to help you. He's sitting on the sidelines. So by doing this, you're mechanically stronger. You use more muscles, bigger muscles than you do if you're pulling straight. Okay, that's one reason. Why else? Zach?
Just ask, where's the gym?
The gym is down the street. We probably aren't going to get to go there this time, but we do have a great gym here. But we're going to show you that someday when you come back, and I can take you down to Froggies Gym, and I'll show you how much stronger you are when you turn in. But you have to trust me on that for now, okay? All right. So we know we're going to get more power, but there's another reason why we rotate the body. Anybody know what that is? It's a little harder. I'm gonna explain it to you, and then you know what it is. And then next time you come back, I won't let you off the hook. Chloe, you probably remember this when I talked to you about it, but it's called the pitching mound effect. The pitching mound. How many of you ever seen baseball played? I guess in India you don't have. Do you have baseball? You have cricket there, huh? Okay. Well, baseball in the U.S. it's our I think our number one game in America. Baseball pitchers throw the ball from a mound. They stand up on the mound, they wind up, and they throw the ball like that. And then we get to clock how fast they throw the ball. And a lot of them are pretty fast. They can throw that ball really quickly. Let's pretend that Mateen is throwing the ball, and Zach is going to be catcher, and Chloe has the radar gun. Okay, so Chloe's measuring Mateen. Mateen stands up here on the pitching mound, and I throw him the ball, and he winds up, and he throws to Zach as hard as he can, and Chloe clocks him at 40 miles per hour. That's pretty fast. He's got a good arm. So now we throw Mateen into the deep end of the swimming pool, the diving well. It's 12 feet deep. He can't touch the bottom, I don't think. So he's out there treading water, okay? And I throw him the baseball, and I say, Mateen, throw it to Zach as fast as you can. So he's sculling like this, gets himself way high, turns, he throws the ball as fast as he can to Zach, and Chloe now clocks him at 20 miles an hour. He just lost half of his speed from what he did on the pitching mound. Went from 40 to 20. Why?
You don't have motion in your body.
His rotation's a little slower in the pool. That's one reason. So he can't turn quite as fast. That's not the big reason, but that's one of them. What else?
You have a little more drag when you throw it.
Well, he's got his hand above the water, so let's assume that he's got his hand and the arm in the air. But he does have more drag as he's rotating slower, so we gave you that one. That's one. What else?
You don't have any support.
That's the big one. When he's on the pitching mound and he pitches, he's pushing back with his back foot against the rubber. And so when he transfers that energy, it goes into a faster pitch. But when he's in the water, his legs are like going around like this. He has nothing solid there to push against.
Like jumping on nothing.
What?
Jumping on nothing.
Yeah, I mean, he's got water molecules. It's not solid. He doesn't have anything stable to push against. That's the big reason why he's not throwing it as fast as he did on the pitching mound. There's a third one too. It's that he's pitching downhill a little bit from the pitching mound because it's up higher, so he has a little bit of gravity helping him. But it's mostly about the fact that he doesn't have the mound. Okay, it's easy to visualize when you start the race, when you're on a starting block, and you're going to push it back against the starting block. That's not going anywhere, right? That's stable, hopefully. When you do a turn, you go in, you hit the wall, boom, you're pushing against concrete or something solid. That wall's not moving. That's easy to visualize. But what about when it's you and you're in the middle of the pool and you don't get to pull on the lane markers? What are you pulling against? The water. It's you and your suit and your goggles and your cap and the water molecules. So when you pull, you're pulling against water molecules, right? But there's one other thing. What is that? That's a force that you created with your own body's motion Here's what you do when you're swimming. The hand comes in, your body rotates this way. You start to pull, and what happened to your body? It started to counter-rotate in the other direction. You pull here, your body's rotating back against the arm. When you get to this side, same thing. Boom, boom, boom. That motion, not the rotation, but the counter-rotation, creates a force. Did that happen, or did you make that happen?
We made that happen.
You made it happen. And what does it take to do that? To make that motion happen? It takes core strength, right? You have to have a strong stomach and back. And it's not like you're turning on a rotisserie chicken on a grill. Do you know what a rotisserie chicken in a grill is? The faster you can turn that body, and the further you can turn that body, the greater force you create. You can turn that body and hip and core so far, it's almost like as good as pulling on the lane line. Now you're not just pulling against water molecules, you're pulling against the water molecules plus the force that you created with your own body motion. All right? That's why we rotate. Very important. That's what enables the hand to enter here, go through its motion, and leave in the same place. It creates more distance per stroke by enabling the same amount of energy and force, boom, to become much stronger by creating that counter force. Yes, Dad?
Where's the bathroom?
The bathroom is, I think there might be one
Outside to the right?
outside. Oh, actually, there's one around the back side here. Go outside this doors, go around the back, and it should be back there. If not, there's one over by the pool, okay? All right. Now let's talk about the third law. So the reason we rotate the body is to get more power mechanically, and second is to have more to pull against, to create a force to pull against with each pull. Very important. Let's talk about the third law. What's that third law called?
Anything in motion will stay in motion.
Okay, what's it called though?
Inertia.
Inertia. Okay, inertia. All right, so we know that inertia applies to us swimming as much as to our car. Means we want to keep our speed constant, as close to constant as we can, and yet we can't really do that in butterfly or breaststroke because they're called stop and go strokes. That's what I call them, stop and go. That means that you slow down and you speed up because most of the power comes at once and most of the recovery comes at one time. So your speed is going to go like that. No matter what you do, you can't in butterfly really obey the law of inertia very well. Freestyle and backstroke you can. What are some of the things you can do to keep your speed more constant? And let's take freestyle. What can you do to keep a more constant speed? Anybody?
Kicking.
What?
Just keep kicking.
Kicking, okay. Are you going to use a 2-beat kick or a 6-beat kick?
6 feet.
All right. A more constant, sustained kick is going to help you. Also, kicking has a lot to do with drag. We didn't talk about this at the beginning, but a narrow, tighter kick will create less drag than a big knee-bending kick. You have to keep the kick tight and narrow and fast, and you have to kick in both directions. While we're talking about kicking, there are 4 functions of the legs. What are they? What do they do for you? Why is the kick so important? What are the 4 functions of the legs? One of them. What does it do? What do the legs do? When you kick, what happens?
It's like a rotor.
It creates, one is to create propulsion, to propel you to create motion through the water. 2, you just named, that's to obey the law of inertia so that you can keep your speed more constant. But there's 2 others. What are they? Besides propelling you through the water, when you kick in the water, are you kicking straight back or are you kicking down at an angle? Okay, so there's 2 components to that kick. One is to push a vector of force back and the other one is to push down, right? What does that do to the body? It lifts the body in the water. That creates what we call lift. What is lift? A lift is a force that makes you higher in the water. We've already told you that's more important, right? To be higher in the water or lower in the water? Where do you want to be? Higher. So the kick helps lift you up, the body up. Keeps the body straighter. and more in alignment. And it keeps it higher in the water. And there's a fourth function. Anybody know what that is? This is a little harder. It's the same one as the core. When you're taking your pull and you come through, the hardest of your kicks is going to occur at the end of your pull. So when your body is kind of run out of rotation room and you've lost the power from the rotation of your body, at the end you have a kick there to pull against. It gives you another stabilizing force to pull against. Okay, so those are four functions that are all important in the legs. Okay, so let's get back to inertia. We have a strong kick, 6-beat kick, that'll help obey the law of inertia by keeping more propulsive efforts, keeping them sustained, keeping the body moving. What else can help with the law of inertia? What's our other source of power? What? The arms. So is it better to move the arms slower or faster for inertia? All right, let's take 2 examples. Let's take a world-class 50 guy. Let's take in the Olympics, Cesar Cielo. He didn't win the Olympics this time, but he was very close. His stroke rate for 50 meters is 120. That means he's taking 60 right arms, 60 left arms per minute. Turning over pretty fast. Okay, 120, that means from the time his hand enters the water to the time it enters the water again is 1 second. Sun Yang, on the other hand, who won the 1500, swims in the middle of the race with a stroke rate of 60. That means 30 right arms, 30 left arms. That means it takes him 2 seconds from the time his hand enters to the time it enters again. Big difference, twice as long. All right, of that, earlier we said that the hand doesn't move. Well, it does move, and if you look at the motion of the hand underwater, it moves in a circle of about 2 feet diameter under the water. It starts at 12, it goes down to 3, forward, the body's moving this way, so it's going to 3 o'clock, then it starts moving backward. It goes to 6 o'clock, moving backward, a little deeper, then it takes the corner of the clock off, goes to 9 o'clock, and then it comes back to 12 where it started. That's the way the hand moves in almost every swimmer. It's like this clock that just got from 6 to 9 just taking the corner off. The only time during that pull that the hand is actually propelling the swimmer is when it's moving backward. That utilizes which law of motion? Anybody? Anybody ever heard of Sir Isaac Newton in school? Newton's third law of motion says action, reaction. Okay, you have to push backward to create motion forward. That's what the hand does during that from 3 o'clock to 9 o'clock. If you look at the time it takes in that time, it's about 0.35 seconds that it's actually moving backward. So out of the whole second of time that the hand goes from the time it enters to the time it enters again, only 35% of that time is in propulsive mode, that it's actually propelling the body. And if you take both hands, that's 70% of the time for a sprinter that he's propelling the body. Sun Yang, on the other hand, takes the same 0.35 seconds of propulsion time, but he has 2 seconds. That means for both left and right hands, 35% of his time is spent in propulsion versus 70%. The rest is downtime. The hand is either recovering or it's creating lift to get the body higher in the water. All right? And what enables Sun Yang to go so fast during that time are his legs. He's kicking very hard during the time he's holding out in front, longer in the front. So the point is that if you want to swim fast with sustained speed, you have to turn the arms over. Has anybody ever seen a propeller that had 2 blades on it? You have? I don't think, well, if they make them, I'm not aware. They usually have 3 blades. And the reason is that there's one always pushing on the water as the propeller churns. If we were designed to be fast as swimmers, and God had made us a little better in the water, he'd have grown a 3rd arm out of our head. And as this arm finished the propulsion phase, the next arm would enter it, and then when this one finished, then the third arm would enter it. We'd always have one hand in propulsion mode, but we don't. We only have two. So for us to act more like a propeller, we have to get the arms over the top in the water and turn over faster, okay? And that's a way to obey the law of inertia. So we have two things now. We have strong kick and we have a fast stroke rate, both of helping the law of inertia. And there's one other thing, and that is to pull this way. If I pull this way, as opposed to deep, I don't slow down as much. When I pull deep, from here to here, in those few tenths of a second, my speed can slow by almost half. I can go from, if I'm swimming at 2 meters per second, my speed would go from 2.5 to about 1.5 in that period right here. But if I pull this way, it goes from 2.5 to 1.75 or 1.8. In other words, I don't slow down as much. I can keep that speed more constant by pulling this way, obeying the law of inertia, okay? So what are the three laws again? We have laws of motion, laws of what? What slows us down? Drag. And what's that third one called? Inertia. The law of inertia, okay? They're all important. And for the next few days, when you guys are here in camp, we're going to learn how to maximize your speed by paying attention to those three laws. All right? If you don't, they will control you in the water. You will not swim as fast. If you're smart and you learn how to live with those laws and understand them, you'll be much faster. Any questions? All right, who wants to go swimming?